So you've traveled the Oregon Trail in pioneer days, and now you've made your way to your actual settlement and plot. You're ready to plant roots and actually start your own town. That's what you'll be doing today in Old West Empresario, the follow-up to Pioneer Days. Let's get into it. Hey there folks, welcome back to the Dice Odyssey. I'm Kaz, and today I'm going to be going ahead and talking about Old West Empresario. We're going to be doing a review on this. This is a tile laying, engine building, city building game. More like small town building, really. But in this game, that's what you're doing. Now, I personally consider Pioneer Days one of my all-time favorite games. I want to say it's in my top 20, top 30. I really enjoyed this game. I'm a massive fan of the original Oregon Trail computer game. And, I mean, we all died of dysentery and little Timmy lost an arm and things like that. That always happened on my Oregon Trails. My oxen would die or, break a leg or something. And it was always the struggle to get to where you're wanting to go. But in that game, it ended once you got there, or if you died, right? I always wanted to know what would happen after when you were planting roots. So what I'm going to do is get you over the table, just give you kind of a general idea of how it plays, just the spirit of the game, and then we're going to get back to my final thoughts. To start the game, you will choose from a number of different characters that are included with their own asymmetric powers. Now you can choose from the standard power, which is get 1 victory point and 3 coins when achieving a wanted card, or you can choose from the advanced powers that each character has. We'll go over a few here. You have Sheriff Win. When using the leftover die, you may activate 1 additional building with the same activation number. Jesse the Specialist. Start with a building type of your choice. When activating your town, regardless of the number on your die, you may instead activate Town Hall and all buildings of 1 color in your town. Jake the Carpenter. When activating your Town Hall, collect the money first. Zebedee the Landowner. You start with 6 coins instead of 3, and you can start with 2 of 6 tiles unbuilt instead of 1 of 3. And there are many other different characters represented. Now you'll have a market area with 6 different die numbers represented, 1 through 6, and each spot will have 2 different tiles apiece. These are the buildings that you're going to use to build your actual town. Now each building on the board is going to have its own abilities and very specific die faces that can trigger some of these abilities. Now in the top left corner of some of these, you'll have these symbols that are called stock icons. And these represent you owning stock in cotton, oil, or railways. And you'll score victory points for how many and how you've placed these symbols in your town. For example, with rail, you get 1 victory point for each rail in your largest contiguous group. With cotton, you score 1 victory point per contiguous group of at least 1 of those. Oil, you score 1 victory point per every oil you have if you have the most. If you don't have the most, you score 1 victory point per every 2 that you have. Now, not all buildings will carry the stock icons. For example, if you look at the Native American settlement on the top left, it has a no building icon. That basically means it costs you nothing to put this tile in your town. Now, if you look at the top right of the tiles, they'll show you extra ways to earn victory points with adjacency bonuses. We won't cover every single one of these here. The rule book does cover these in good detail. Now, with the adjacency bonuses, the colors match the building that it gives you the bonus for. For example, if you built a saloon next to a distillery, for every saloon that's built next to that distillery orthogonally, you would get +1 victory point bonus. Now, not every one of them is going to be the same. The church, for example, awards you victory points for carpenters that are built next to it, but also for any open area that's orthogonally next to it. The carpenter will gain +1 victory point for a church built next to it, but also +4 if all the areas surrounding it are completely covered orthogonally and diagonally. Now you also have civic buildings, which are the white buildings, which have their own end-game modifiers. You have the planning office. You get 2 victory points for each of the wanted cards that you actually have completed in your possession. You have the Census Bureau. You get a victory point for every 2 victory points you have collected during the game. You have the tax office, which gives you a victory point for every $2 you actually have. It's a maximum of 10. And so on and so forth. There are many civic buildings in the game which can add for in-game modifiers. You also have the Undertaker, which can actually give you a negative victory point for each adjacent building to it. Now, each building is going to have its own special ability. Most of them are going to be activated with the dice that you draw. Now, there will be multiples of the same buildings, but with different die faces represented, 1 through 6. Now, there's also wanted cards, which are pretty much goal cards that everybody can be gunning for in the game. You'll have the top cards be the gold, more valuable cards, and then you'll have their matching silver cards underneath with less valuable rewards on them. For example, you can gain this wanted card if you have 5 constructed buildings with the same stock symbol, cotton, rail, or oil. It gives you 5 extra points. This one says if you have 5 or more victory point tokens, you get the reward of 4 extra points. And so on and so forth. Now you start the game with a town hall, 3 coins, and you'll have drawn 3 building tiles and chosen one of them to be put into your town unbuilt. On each of your turns, you can do the following in order. You choose one of the remaining dice on the die number tiles and you set it aside. Now, you may optionally pay 1 coin once to adjust the die value up 1 value or down 1 value. You can even change a 6 to a 1 in this way, or even a 1 to a 6. Now, according to your die value, you can do one of the following. You can claim a tile from that column. You can discard a tile from that column for income, or you can activate your town. So let's say I wanted to claim a number 5. I would take the 5, and now I can choose between the mine or the inn. I'll go ahead and choose the mine for now, and it remains unbuilt. It goes directly into my town however I want, or diagonally connected to other buildings. I then draw another one to take its place in that area. Now let's pretend it's my turn again. I'll now take the 2. And I'll take the Native American settlement and I'll put it in my town, and this one does not require for it to be built. It also has an instant activation that allows me to use its power if I want. In this case, it says I gain 1 victory point, but I also discard 2 victory points, and that allows me to pull a building tile from any tile out there on the board. Now let's say I wanted to discard a tile for income. Well, I would take the die and then I would discard either one of the tiles that I wanted to, and then replace it with a new tile. I would then gain 3 coins. Now I could also activate my town. I take a die, and then I use that die face to activate whichever buildings that I want to that work with it. In this case, I'm going to activate the town hall. It allows me to pay a coin, and I can build a building, or if I want, I'll just gain a coin instead. But in this case, we'll go ahead and pay a coin, and now I want to go ahead and build a building. Speaking of building powers, let's go through some of those now. You've got the inn. You spend a coin and a victory point, and it allows you to take a building tile from one of the die face representations. You have the distillery. Spend a coin and you immediately gain 2 victory point tiles. You have the saloon. You can gain a coin for each building that's built next to it orthogonally. You have the mine. You just gain 2 coins. You have the carpenter. It allows you to build a building for free. You have the church. You can pay a coin to activate any building in your town. You have the Undertaker. You gain a victory point and you make your opponents discard 1 coin if they can. Now with the die that you pulled, you may activate multiple buildings in any order that you're able to, even if they're under construction and you just built them on your turn. Now at the end of the round, you'll have 1 die left, and everyone can use that to activate at least 1 building in their town if they want to. After that, the next person takes first player token, and then they roll the dice, and play continues round after round after round until somebody triggers the end of the game. And the way that the game can end is if any player has 15 constructed buildings in their town, or the supply of population tokens has been exhausted, or the tile supply of buildings has run out. From that point on, you can use the point tally sheet to tally up your final scoring. Whoever's got the most points at the end wins. Okay, I'm going to give you some pros, and then I'm going to give you some cons, and then I'm going to go ahead and give you my final rating. Needless to say, I have had so much fun with this game, and I am not the only one. Everybody in my group that has played this loved it or had a great time with it ultimately. All right, so let's go ahead and hit the pros. Number one, the theme. I thought the theme, while it is slightly thin in some regards, there's just enough there for me to enjoy myself. Number two, the mechanics. I thought the mechanics were crunchy. You had interesting decisions to make pretty much every turn, and there's a lot of turn angst every turn, you know, so you have your market out there and you're, to a certain extent, you're going to be planning your strategy out, but you're also pretty dependent about what tiles are coming out as well. I mean, you could take a tile off the board and you might have been waiting for, say, let's say a distillery to come out. You took a saloon just now because you're hoping, because these buildings combo together. That was another one of my favorite things about this game. The combos, the chaining. But you're hoping that a distillery will come out so that it will work off of that saloon, right? Because they combo together. And you get in-game points from that. So you take that saloon going, okay, I'm gonna take this saloon, and I'm hoping that if a distillery comes out, nobody else will take it, you know? Because I'm trying to build my engine up. Right? I don't see any other distilleries out here right now, and I'm hoping one comes out. Oh, okay, one just came out. Okay, all right, don't say anything. Everybody knows I just chose a saloon. Maybe they won't think I'm trying to get a distillery. Somebody took it, you know. And so there is some tactical elements to this game as well, because you are going to be somewhat dependent upon that tile draw. But it still, it doesn't matter. You can still make a great functioning engine out of this. I had one game where a friend of mine had an amazing saloon distillery combo, like mega engine set up, and they were just, you know, producing coins, producing victory points, and I thought this person's going to win the game. We were all thinking that at the table. But I had managed to put together an engine where I was able to produce some victory points, but I was making a lot of money, right? Every turn off of, it was a saloon and a mine and some other things. And I was able to generate a lot of cash because cash is in-game points. I beat this person by 2 points and won the game, even though they actually had probably a more efficient engine setup. And they had an amazingly, in my opinion, somewhat of an OP power of their players, and that gets me into another pro. I'm a sucker for asymmetric abilities. I like being different from this person at the table and this person at the table. They can't do what I do, and that is so very well pronounced in this game. The other thing, another great pro about this game is it's extraordinarily, I gotta watch my words here. It's extraordinarily easy to learn in terms of the mechanics, and I don't mean the symbols. I'm talking about the actual mechanics of the game. You take a die, you activate your town if you want, or you take a die and you get a building, or you go ahead and discard a building. It's really simple, right? And within 3 or 4 turns, you've got that part down. Now, the part that's gonna be difficult is learning all the symbolism at first, okay? And it's not a bad thing. It's actually quite intuitive. I thought this was going to be a lot more drawn out and heavy and difficult to learn when I first started looking at all the symbolism of the game, because there is a lot. Another pro I really loved about this was the satisfaction factor, okay? By the time I was done building my town in any game that we played, I just had a great sense of satisfaction that I built this, and I was able to figure out how to make my town generate what I needed it to win. I love the fact that they also gave you ways to mitigate the dice in case you didn't get the dice you wanted necessarily. Well, you have a very strong chance of getting what you want if you just pay some coins, and I love that. Now, let me go ahead and get into some of the cons. One of the possible cons is that maybe some of the characters might be a little OP in terms of their powers, just a little overpowered. Like, for example, this one in particular, you can start with a building type of your choice. When activating your town, regardless of the number on your die, you may instead activate Town Hall and all buildings of one color in your town. Now, it's a double-edged sword. It might not be OP. It just depends on what you build. But for example, we had a friend of ours who had built a ton of one type of color, and every turn was generating points just like crazy because of that power. Interestingly enough, though, I was able to beat him, so you can work around it. But just know, if you have an experienced player sitting there and they have a power like that, it's possible they could run away with the game. It truly is. So that is a possibility, but it's not a huge issue because I think in general, the game in and of itself is fairly well balanced overall. Another con was I didn't like the fact that the rule book and the rule book alone was the only one that had the symbols represented on the back, you know, that chart. Because in the game, we were having to pass this rule book around because there's enough symbols there to give you some AP, especially when you're first learning the game, your first 2 or 3 games of this. You're still going to be going back to that rule book to check those symbols. Well, in this case, there was an easy fix. I was able to print out, I just copied off the back of this and printed the rest of the symbol sheets out. So pretty much everybody at the table had one. So it's a workaround. I just wish they had given everybody a chart to look at instead of making me go to my printer. It's a minor thing, but it is still kind of a ding against the game. Now, a more subjective con, if you're somebody who's very AP prone, just understand that will possibly drag your turns down a little bit while you're learning the symbols. Even if you've been playing for a little bit, it might still do that. You'll still have to probably reference your sheets a lot. And you're really searching that tile market just to make sure that whatever you have is going to combo off of what you've created so far. And so that's a possibility. It could slow the game down a little bit. Not a big deal. This game is amazing. I had so much fun with it. It's releasing at GenCon. Right now, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed myself, and I was just ready to play again and again and again and again and again. I'm even going to be bringing this Joker to Gen Con with me to play with some people I know because I'm on my way there. So anyway, that's my review. Old West Empresario. If you've not gotten a chance to check this game out, you got to check it out. If you like tile building, some engine building elements in your game, dice drafting, if you like the Old West theme, this is your Huckleberry. Anyway, thank you so much again for watching the Dice Odyssey videos. Have you gotten a chance to play Old West Empresario yet? I understand it hadn't been released, but some people sometimes get those early copies, kind of like me. And do you like the Old West theme? Did you get to play Pioneer Days? Were you looking for kind of a follow-up to it? You know, kind of like I was. I was waiting to see what would happen at the end of the Oregon Trail. Anyway, let me know down in the comments. And please like and subscribe, and because it does help us out and it does help us get the videos seen more. Anyway, thank you so much. You have a blessed day, and game away. This video is brought to you by Fallen Dominion Studios. Check out their website at fallendominionstudios.com.